Asian stocks opened sharply higher on Thursday, led by South Korea, where the Kospi surged more than 4% as the chip rally regained momentum. Japan's Nikkei gained 1.5%, while Australia slipped slightly.
The US military says that it is stepping up enforcement of a naval blockade against Iran in the Strait of Hormuz.
Now, US Central Command says American forces have redirected 59 commercial vessels, disabled 3, and boarded 2 as they enforced a blockade against Iran. CENTCOM released images showing an FA-18 fighter jet launching from the USS George H.W. Bush as the carrier operates in regional waters. The commander described the operation as part of America's steel wall blockade against Iran.
The operations come as President Donald Trump claims the US has total control of the Strait of Hormuz. With tensions with Iran high and peace talks stalled, Trump said Iran has no navy, no air force, unpaid soldiers, and a decimated IRGC. He also said Iran's leadership faces uncertainty, has no money, and is left with fake news and 300% inflation. Trump called Iran all talk, no action, declaring that the bully of West Asia is no longer.
Meanwhile, a senior IRGC advisor, Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Naqvi, in a media interview has said that months of fighting have changed Iran's view of American military power. He claimed Iran now believes the US military is less capable than what they expected, adding they gained valuable battlefield experience and insisted that up until now, Iran has been victorious. The comments come as efforts to end the fighting continue to stall.
Meanwhile, Pakistan is stepping up efforts to revive negotiations between Washington and Tehran. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar met Iran's ambassador in Islamabad on Wednesday.
The meeting comes a day after Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi arrived in Tehran, where he met Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. Turkey's news agency also cited Pakistani sources reporting that Iran and the US agreed to extend a 60-day ceasefire. However, a senior Iranian source said no talks are underway to extend the ceasefire. With the June agreement due to expire, Iran says US must first return to the agreement and set a timeline for fulfilling its commitments.
Meanwhile, Iran-backed Houthi rebels have released a video of the attack in the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, which killed 6 people, as the US military separately fired on a ship it said was trying to break a blockade of Iranian ports.
Any activity that disrupts shipping around the coast of Yemen will also hinder our efforts to bring supplies in, which is one of the reasons why all of those sorts of obstructions in the Red Sea and around Bab al-Mandab need to stop.
While struggling for battlefield success in Iran, the aura of invisibility around the commander-in-chief of the world's most powerful military, it has been shattered.
Well, US President Donald Trump's confirmation of switching planes in Turkey has now elicited a flurry of memes from Iran. According to reports, the trigger for Trump's plane switch was Israeli intelligence, which indicated that Iran was in fact plotting to use shoulder-to-air missiles and surface-to-air missiles to take down his plane. Those are SAMs that were predicted to be used. Someone in the vicinity of the NATO summit had reportedly been spotted with a shoulder-fired missile. And this is not just reports. Also suggested that Iranians specifically knew where Trump was staying in Ankara.
I guess there was a threat out there. I didn't really ask them much about it. I get a lot of threats.
Now, Trump's big admission, which shows his fear of being targeted by Iranian missiles, stands in sharp contrast to his usual bravado of projecting himself as the very best. Have a look at this AI-generated poster. Surrounded by stars, planets and spaceships, Trump looms large and was branded as a cosmic commander who is set to unleash a new era.
Well, let's show you another one. This is him gloating over America's military prowess, and this post showed a large Trump in the sky, larger than life, with military jets hovering around. Explosions can be seen rocking areas marked as Iran, while a caption, this is what it said, Guardians of the World.
Well, Iran has now given him a reality check. Look at this visual posted by Iran's embassy in South Africa. It depicts Trump hiding in a food trolley with plates and cutlery around him. Taking a jibe at Trump, the post read, and I'm quoting it from the post, "He will be hidden in a trash can before long."
Well, Iran's embassy in Zimbabwe was not far behind. It put out a photograph reflecting how Trump's words and actions don't seem to match. On one hand, it shows Trump dressed as a fighter pilot and then contrasts it with him hiding in a food trolley. Kripa, Iran is really going all out with him having to make that switch in a food truck.
That's true. Iran's embassy to Sarajevo also took pot shots at Trump's desperation for the talks. It showed a worried US president in a battlefield with no missiles left and depleted stockpiles.
Well, Tehran also mocked Trump over his latest assertion that US has total control over the Strait of Hormuz. Take a look at this one now. A grim Trump seen dipping into Hormuz, sinking into it rather, and surrounded by the flags of Iran and Oman.
Now, it is worth noting that this is not the first time when US Secret Service has used decoys to ensure the safety of American presidents. For instance, while traveling from New Delhi to Islamabad back in the 2000s, the then US President Bill Clinton secretly switched from his C-17 military plane to a C-20 jet to avoid potential security threats. However, the difference back then was that journalists were informed about this security risk.
While the security threat to Trump may have been credible, a key question still arises. Why were the journalists and others aboard the old Air Force One who were on board to have their interaction with the US president? Why were they not apprised of this threat? Why were they still on board when the US president had been deplaned? What about the lives of the journalists who were literally left to fend for themselves, with Trump now sidestepping the question and instead claiming that the plane which he flew on was at greater risk? Questions over this incident are only mounting. And a new dispute over the Golan Heights is putting Israel's control of the strategic Syrian territory back under international spotlight.
At the same time, Israel is facing accusations of fueling environmental destruction in southern Lebanon, where repeated fires have reportedly scorched forests, farmland and olive groves. In Lebanon, firefighters and residents accuse the Israeli military of triggering wildfires with its munitions as well as its drones. Near Qiyam in southern Lebanon, Israeli forces reportedly dropped flares over a wooded area, setting vegetation ablaze. When firefighters moved in to contain the flames, an Israeli drone strike landed nearby, allegedly forcing them to retreat yet again.
First responders and residents in other parts of southern Lebanon have reported similar incidents, describing fires in dry woodlands, scrubs and agricultural areas. Environmental groups say that the damage threatens forests and biodiversity already affected by years of conflict.
Israel has previously said Hezbollah uses wooded areas as cover for fighters and tunnels, and the focus now shifts north to the Golan Heights. Colombia's newly elected right-wing president, Abelardo de la Espriella, has recognized Israeli sovereignty over the region. The South American country becomes only the second country after the US to take that position.
Well, Syria has condemned the move as a violation of the United Nations Charter. The UN considers Israel's annexation of the Golan Heights illegal under international law. Israel captured the territory from Syria during the 1967 Six-Day War. Syria attempted to retake it during the 1973 war, but failed. Israel expanded its military presence beyond the Golan ceasefire line thereafter.
Well, back in 2024, following the fall of Bashar al-Assad, Israel says security and historical claims justify its control. The territory also carries enormous strategic value. The Golan Heights overlooks northern Israel and also provides a major vantage point into Syria, with Damascus roughly 60 kilometers away. The plateau also sits near key water sources, including the Sea of Galilee and the Upper Jordan River basin, the main freshwater resources for Israel.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has strongly defended Israel's claim over Golan Heights. In a video post, Netanyahu said Israeli flag would remain over Golan Heights because, in his words, this is Israeli land.
Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar has called Colombia's decision historic and said Israel will push other countries to recognize its sovereignty over the territory.
Well, the dispute comes as Israeli officials warn of growing security tensions with Syria, raising questions about the future of the Golan Heights and the wider region. Israeli Diaspora Affairs Minister, in fact, just recently stated that a war with Syria is inevitable due to tensions near the border.
For a few extraordinary minutes of solar eclipse, day turned into night across parts of Europe on Wednesday.
Well, the moon moved directly between the sun and the earth, completely blocking the sun along a narrow path of totality. Totality, it reveals the sun's outer atmosphere, or the corona, which is normally swamped by the sun's brightness. Researchers used the event to study the corona, solar winds, and the sun's magnetic field.
The spectacle stretched across Spain, UK, Norway, France, Iceland and several other countries. In Spain particularly, it was the country's first total solar eclipse in more than a century and mainland Europe's first total eclipse since 2006.
Well, in Iceland's region, the eclipse was particularly historic as the city had not witnessed a totality since 1433 and will not see another until 2196. For around 15 million people, the moon's shadow brought near total darkness.
Even though it lasted barely 2 minutes, that brief darkness was the result of an extraordinary alignment. How was that possible? That has been the question. The moon is roughly 400 times smaller than the sun, but also about 400 times closer to Earth. That near-perfect coincidence allows it to cover the sun's visible disk from our perspective. And as the moon's shadow raced across Earth at roughly 3,430 kilometers per hour, temperatures dipped, daylight faded, and the landscape took on an eerie twilight.
Well, the partial eclipse lasted about 1 hour and 45 minutes and was visible across much of Europe, Northwest Africa, Canada and parts of the northern United States. NASA and the European Space Agency live-streamed it as scientists sought more clues about solar winds and the sun's magnetic field. And Europe does not have long to wait for another one. Southern Spain will see another total eclipse in August next year, lasting more than 6 minutes. Then, again in 2028, the Iberian Peninsula will get a different spectacle called a Ring of Fire annular eclipse. India's decision to standardize the names of 27 locations and geographical features in Arunachal Pradesh has triggered a fresh diplomatic spat with China.
The move was announced on August 7 and was carried out by the government in consultation with the Arunachal Pradesh government. The standard names have been formally identified on Survey of India maps. The list includes 21 land locations, 4 mountain passes, a lake and a memorial. According to New Delhi, the move is aimed at ensuring accurate identification and better awareness of these locations. However, Beijing has rejected the move. It said the names are illegal and rendered them null and void.
Well, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun also reiterated Beijing's claim over the region, which China refers to. They've given their own name to the region, and a day later, India hit back. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said Arunachal Pradesh is an inalienable and integral part of India, a message made wide and clear by India time and again. He added that nothing will change that reality. The exchange comes amid reports of renewed military activity along the disputed India-China border.
Just last week, India and China held the 36th meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on Border Affairs. The two sides had agreed to maintain communication through diplomatic as well as military channels to help preserve peace and tranquility along the border. France is facing a unique problem. It's facing a 20% shortfall in nuclear power production capacity.
And the reason is a jellyfish invasion. Interestingly, exactly a year ago, the nuclear power plant in northern France faced the same problem and then spent thousands of euros to protect the plant from a jellyfish swarm. But the problem has again crippled the power plant. There's more in this next report. Take a look.
A nuclear power plant is essentially a giant heat machine. Inside the reactor, nuclear fission releases enormous amounts of energy. That heat boils water, produces steam, and drives turbines to generate electricity. But the real battle does not end when the reactor is switched off. The fuel continues producing heat. That is why nuclear plants are built with layers of safety systems, backup power, and multiple ways to remove heat from the reactor. In Japan, Fukushima showed what happens when those layers are overwhelmed. In 2011, a 9-magnitude earthquake produced a massive tsunami, which flooded critical equipment and wiped out much of the power needed for cooling. The loss of cooling led to severe core damage. And in Ukraine, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant has become a stark reminder that war can put nuclear safety under extraordinary pressure. But in France, the latest threat came from the sea. Jellyfish. Millions of them swarm towards the cooling water intake system at the Gravelines nuclear plant in northern France. The plant is enormous. 6 reactors can produce a combined 5.4 gigawatts of electricity. But the jellyfish began clogging the intake system. 5 of the 6 reactors at the power plant were either fully or partially shut. France uses nuclear power to generate around 70% of its electricity. The country has seen nuclear power production disrupted by multiple heat waves and droughts this year. Now, in total, 13 of the 57 reactors were affected due to environmental causes, as a precaution. And here is the bizarre part. It happened almost exactly 1 year after the same thing happened. In 2025, a massive jellyfish swarm forced the entire Gravelines plant offline. This time, French utility provider EDF was ready. Cameras were installed to watch the intake canals. Fishing boats were deployed to intercept the swarm. But again, the jellyfish choked the power plant. EDF says there is no danger to workers, the facility, or the environment, and expects the reactors to restart quickly. But the incident exposes a new problem. Nuclear plants are designed to defeat extreme threats, yet nature does not always attack with earthquakes or tsunamis. Sometimes the weakness arrives as a swarm, and scientists warn that warming seas, invasive species, disappearing predators, and overfishing could make such events more common. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Growing number of older Australians are ending long marriages, and the financial consequences could reach far beyond the couples themselves, potentially reshaping how billions of dollars are passed to the next generation.
An analysis of the Australian Bureau of Statistics data by local media shows the median age of women divorcing in Australia has risen from 33 back in 1980 to 44.4 today. For men, it has climbed from 35 to 47.5 in just the past 4 years. The median age has increased another 1.4 years for both sexes.
And Australia has recorded close to 50,000 divorces a year for more than 2 decades. The rise in so-called grey divorce after age 50 could reportedly weaken direct inheritance wealth as it gets divided between 2 households.
Financial experts also warn of housing pressures, smaller superannuation balances and longer working lives after separation. Longer life expectancy, greater financial independence and less stigma around divorce are reportedly helping drive this trend.
Well, the pattern extends beyond Australia. It's not limited. According to PEW Research Center in the United States, the divorce rate among people aged 50 and over rose from 3.9 per 1,000 married women in 1990 to 10.3 in 2023. For families, the consequences can continue after divorce, particularly when property, superannuation and inheritances eventually come into play.
An AI-generated video imagining a Chinese-style heaven has gone viral online, attracting more than 5 million views in less than 4 days.
Well, the 30-second video uses AI to depict celestial palaces, sea of cloud landscapes and cranes flying through the skies. There's a lot that's happening in this video. We'll slip into a short break after that, but this is World DNA. We will be back. Please stay with us.
Probably the grand visuals, along with the simple and clean scenes and elements, were what appealed to them. If there were dialogue or subtitles, they might have confined the visuals to a fixed storyline. Without dialogue, everyone can use the images to envision their own version of the heavenly palace. In the past, cultural export mainly happened through movies, novels, and the like. Going forward, I think we can absolutely use AI to generate videos as a way to share Chinese culture.
The Israeli
French football turns the page. Zinedine Zidane is the new head coach of Les Bleus. The French Football Federation has officially named Zidane as successor to Didier Deschamps, who steps down after 14 years in charge. For France, this is more than an appointment. It's the return of a national icon. Zidane was the heartbeat of France's 1998 World Cup triumph, scoring twice in the final against Brazil. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or the same year and led Les Bleus to Euro glory in 2000. As a manager, Zidane delivered an unprecedented 3 straight Champions League titles with Real Madrid. Now, the man who gave France its greatest footballing memory takes charge of its future. A national hero is back home, this time in the dugout.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching World DNA with Kripa. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start with the headlines at this hour.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Kyiv needs 5% of US Patriot interceptors to survive winter and 10% to counter Russia's ballistic missiles, citing reduced stocks and intensified Russian attacks.
Ukraine launches a massive overnight drone attack on Russia's Novorossiysk, killing 3 people and wounding 24. 2 major grain terminals were damaged, raising concerns over global wheat supplies and prices.
Senior IRGC advisor Mohammad Reza Naqvi says Iran views the US military as weaker than previously perceived, while claiming Iran is victorious despite not reaching its final objective as talks to end the fighting stall.
The US President says White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt will leave her role at month end. She will remain involved as an outside communications advisor, saying she wants to spend more time with her children.
Colombian President Abelardo de la Espriella declares an economic emergency following a magnitude 7.4 earthquake that killed 265 people. Measure will fund reconstruction and support economic recovery, investment and job creation in affected areas.
Venezuela's interim government and opposition wrap up US-backed talks agreeing on judicial reform and seeking frozen funds for earthquake recovery. Dozens of protesters rally outside the venue demanding greater transparency.
Total solar eclipse darkens skies across parts of northern hemisphere, marking mainland Europe's first since 1990. Totality crossed Greenland, Iceland, Russia, Spain and Portugal, lasting up to 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Japan's wholesale inflation stayed elevated in July, with producer prices up 7.2% year-on-year. The data is strengthening expectations. The Bank of Japan could raise interest rates as soon as September.
Afghanistan flexed their batting might to take an unassailable 3-0 lead in the ongoing 5-match ODI series against Ireland. Centuries from Ibrahim Zadran and Sadiqullah Atal help Afghanistan beat Ireland by 42 runs after posting a massive total. Our top focus this hour remains on India. Authorities in Maharashtra continue to crack down on food outlets not adhering to safety standards.
Well, the state's Food and Drug Administration, that's the FDA, has suspended the food business licenses of 4 Domino's pizza outlets, including 3 in Mumbai. FDA officials said that the action was taken over alleged violations of food safety and hygiene norms. In Mumbai, authorities took action against Domino's pizza outlets in Vileparle West, Borivali West and Ghatkobar West during a special drive against chain restaurants.
The FDA said it has also taken action against a fourth Domino's outlet in the Satara district of western Maharashtra. According to the FDA officials, the Vileparle West outlet had problems with potable drinking water and food storage. They also detected deficiencies related to the display of the FSSAI license, pest control, hand washing and sanitation facilities. The outlet also lacked infrastructure to monitor the temperature of frozen food.
And then similarly, the crackdown at Borivali West outlet by the FDA revealed a 15% non-compliance by the restaurant. The FDA also found lapses in food storage, temperature monitoring, food testing and cleanliness. Furthermore, the outlet did not follow proper segregation of raw and cooked food, as well as vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. The FDA also found issues with equipment and utensil sanitization.
The FDA also found deficiencies in cleaning and sanitization schedules at the Ghatkopar West Domino's outlet as well. It said that the outlet maintained a poor pest control documentation. The outlet also failed to properly follow the FIFO, first in, first out, and FEFO, first expired, first out practices. The FDA added that the outlet lacked food grade certification, while adding that food and water testing and food safety records were also missing. FDA also found that the outlet did not maintain adequate temperature in its food storage facilities.
Furthermore, the FDA found around 40% non-compliance in the Domino's outlet located in the Satara district in Maharashtra. It added that deficiencies have been detected in basic infrastructure, cleanliness and pest control. And WION's principal correspondent, our colleague Disha Yadav, spoke to FDA Commissioner Tukaram Mundhe to understand the scale of this crackdown that he's leading in Maharashtra and how the state is strengthening its food safety system. Listen into this exchange.
Absolutely. Sir, have you also identified particular food products or categories that are emerging to be the biggest adulteration risks as on today?
Please understand, FSSAI Act itself categorizes food in almost 18 categories. Some of them are regarded as or categorized as high risk categories, where there is high consumption and likelihood of substandard or adulteration or unsafe is there. There are 8 such categories, whether it's milk and milk products, meat and meat products, oil and all these things. They are already categorized, not by me, but by Food Safety Authority itself. So that categorization exists. Yes. We need to work on that, and that's why we are working on it. We take more seriously, we focus more on high risk categories, depending on the time also. For example, if it is a festival season, so milk products, fried products, all these products will be looked much more stringently, much more on a vaster scale.
Cleaning, they're also getting into all hygiene mode, which were not really there before. They've started putting banners and posters right outside the restaurants saying that we are complying with all the FDA rules. So of course there is a visible change, but we've also heard another important angle, that how these establishments, some of them are hiring ex-officers to get themselves saved from the raids. What do you have to say on that?
I don't know whether hiring ex-officers will save them or not, but definitely complying with regulations will definitely save them. If they are hiring for knowledge or advice from them, that's fine enough, but those who are hired also should know the laws and rules and regulations. Their job is to give them a right advice. If they are tendering something not right, will backfire on them and abuse also.
Decades after a noted Kashmiri Pandit poet and his son were abducted and murdered, the case is back in the spotlight.
The Jammu and Kashmir Police State Investigation Agency has now launched a fresh probe, conducting simultaneous searches at 9 locations across the Union territory. The J&K Police is probing the death of Sarvanand Kaul Premi and his son Virendra Kaul. The FIR was originally registered at Duru police station in Anantnag district and is now under investigation by the SIA officials, who say that 6 locations were searched in the Rajouri district, 2 in Jammu and 1 in the Kashmir Valley.
According to officials, the searches are targeting people and properties suspected to be linked to the decades-old double murder. Investigators are now trying to identify the killers, trace their possible accomplices and recover evidence that could shed light on the crime.
Well, the case dates back to 1990, a period of intense violence and targeted killings in Kashmir that led to the mass displacement of the Kashmiri Pandit community. Sarvanand Kaul Premi, respected poet, writer and a scholar, lived in a village in Anantnag's Kokarnag area.
On the night of April 29-30, 1990, Premi and his 27-year-old son Virendra were abducted from their home. Their bodies were found 2 days later, hanging from a tree near their village, around 20 kilometers from their own house. The double murder became one of the many symbols of the violence that Kashmiri Pandits faced during the turbulent period. But for years, the case saw little progress. It was subsequently taken up for re-investigation following directions from the Union Home Ministry concerning unsolved cases of violence against minorities dating back to that period.
And India's Gen Alpha has taken to the streets after taking a cue from Gen Z.
The students in different parts of India are asking tough, direct questions from local administrations on the dire situation of basic infrastructure that hinders their education. Take a look.
This week in Asia, Japan's stock market is riding an extraordinary AI wave. But behind the surge in AI and semiconductor stocks, there is another powerful market force.
That is the weak yen. Our correspondent Adhya Juneja reports more.
Japan's stock market has become one of the biggest beneficiaries of the global AI boom. The Nikkei has surged to record levels, with investors pouring money into semiconductors, AI infrastructure and technology companies. But the rally is not just about artificial intelligence. The yen's weakness is also playing a critical role. When the yen falls against the dollar, Japanese companies with large overseas operations can see their foreign revenues translated into more yen. Well, that can boost reported profits and make exporters more attractive to investors. The effect is particularly powerful when it combines with a global AI investment boom. Japanese companies, semiconductor equipment suppliers and AI infrastructure companies are all benefiting from strong demand. One company has come to symbolize this shift, SoftBank. its market value has surged as investors bet on its exposure to AI, including its investments in OpenAI, chips, and AI infrastructure. SoftBank has even overtaken Toyota as Japan's most valuable company by market capitalization, a sign of just how quickly the market's focus has shifted from traditional industry to AI. But there's a catch. The weak yen may be good for exporters, but it makes imported energy, food and raw materials more expensive. Japan imports the vast majority of its oil from West Asia, making the currency even more important when energy prices rise. Well, that creates a difficult balance for the Bank of Japan. Keep rates low and the yen could weaken further. Raise rates and the central bank risks putting pressure on the economy and high valuation growth stocks. The result is a market with two very different stories. On one side, AI is powering a new investment cycle, boosting Japanese technology stocks and corporate earnings. On the other, the weak yen is raising the cost of living and increasing pressure on the Bank of Japan to normalize monetary policy. For investors, the big question is no longer just whether Japan can ride the AI boom. It is whether the rally can continue if the yen strengthens and interest rates move higher.
Japan's AI boom may look like a technology story, but it is also a currency story. A weak yen has helped boost exporters and amplify corporate earnings, but it has also fueled imported inflation. Now, for the Bank of Japan, this might create a difficult choice. It might be between supporting the growth as well as allowing the yen to weaken further. So the next move in Japan's currency could be just as important as the next move in its AI stocks. Well, this is Adhya Juneja reporting for WION World is One.
From the world of technology now, Meta will face a major court test in the US over claims that Facebook and Instagram were designed to be addictive to children.
A coalition of state attorney generals accused the company of keeping young users hooked to the platforms and misleading the public about the safety of its platforms. The 7-week trial could cost Meta billions of dollars now and force it to make major changes to how its platforms work.
The trial begins in Oakland, California, with jury selection on Wednesday and opening statements expected on August 18. Colorado, Kentucky, California and New Jersey are leading the case, while 29 states are also accusing Meta of illegally collecting and using children's data.
Well, the states want Meta to make changes including age restrictions, an end to infinite scrolls, and other safety measures for young users. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is expected to testify here alongside Instagram head Adam Mosseri. The company strongly denies these allegations and even says that it has worked with parents, experts and law enforcement to understand the risks facing young users. Meta says potential damages could reach as much as $1.4 trillion, although the states have not said how much they will seek. The case comes as social media companies face growing scrutiny over their impact on children.
A recent Reuters Ipsos poll found 85% of Americans believe that social media can be addictive for children, while 61% want stronger oversight of social media companies. The Meta case now, it is one of thousands of lawsuits brought by states, cities, school districts and individuals over claims that social media platforms can harm young users.
Well, the Indian Cricket Board, BCCI, has confirmed that Afghanistan will, quote-unquote, host India in a 3-match T20I series in New Delhi in September.
The series has put serious doubts over India's tour of Bangladesh. This will be the first time a team will host India on Indian soil. The Afghanistan cricket team does not play its designated home matches in Afghanistan due to security concerns. Afghanistan has already been playing their home matches in India for the last decade. They have played their home games in Lucknow, Dehradun, Greater Noida, but never against India. The Afghanistan series, it is scheduled between the Test tour of Sri Lanka and the Asian Games. The three-match T20I series will be played on September 13, 15 and 17. All three matches will be played at the Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi.
India and Afghanistan recently played a one-off test and 3 ODIs in June. India won the test by an innings and 300 runs while clinching the ODI series 3-0.
The three-match T20I series in Delhi has cast serious doubts over India's proposed tour of Bangladesh, which was initially scheduled for September 1 to 13. The Bangladesh series was initially scheduled for last year, but had to be postponed due to political unrest in the country. With the tour, Bangladesh hoped to revive bilateral cricketing ties with India following the fallout over Mustafizur Rahman and T20 World Cup controversy. Well, for decades, the Hollywood leading man was defined by an archetype. He was required to have the facade of a man who never sheds tears.
Well, pain, if portrayed at all, was to be masked by machismo, and personal struggles were kept strictly off script. But Brad Pitt's recent interview with Esquire marks a definitive shift here. In a moment of striking vulnerability, the 62-year-old actor dismantled the myth of the untouchable movie star. He spoke candidly about his darkest psychological battles while addressing a difficult period related to his family. Pitt revealed that he experienced a time when the emotional toll became nearly unbearable. Pitt confessed that the pain was so oppressive that he could feel the cold steel of the bullet in his head, and it felt like relief. He clarified that he has never inherently been suicidal, yet by merely acknowledging that he understood suicide as a desperate search for relief from pain, Pitt broke one of the industry's longest-standing taboos. And this revelation sits in stark contrast to the era of Hollywood that made Pitt a global superstar.
Pitt's candidness extends to his complex relationship with alcohol as well. After achieving 7 years of strict sobriety, he admitted to falling off the wagon and attempting to drink in a more restrained manner. It's an admission that strips away the polished Hollywood narrative of the perfect recovery, offering instead a deeply human portrait of a man still actively trying to figure it out. Well, that's it in this edition of World DNA. But before we slip into a very short break, here's a quick look at the images drawing our attention from around the world. Stay tuned to WION World is One. Thank you for watching.
French football turns the page. Zinedine Zidane is the new head coach of Les Bleus. The French Football Federation has officially named Zidane as successor to Didier Deschamps, who steps down after 14 years in charge. For France, this is more than an appointment. It's the return of a national icon. Zidane was the heartbeat of France's 1998 World Cup triumph, scoring twice in the final against Brazil. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or the same year and led Les Bleus to Euro glory in 2000. As a manager, Zidane delivered an unprecedented 3 straight Champions League titles with Real Madrid. Now, the man who gave France its greatest footballing memory takes charge of its future. A national hero is back home, this time in the dugout.
Once a year, grown men in this city put on 3-piece suits, or well, at least a blazer, in 40-degree heat and call it a good idea. This is the distinguished gentleman's ride. It happens on the same day in over 100-odd countries. And it started, of all places, with a photograph. A bloke in Sydney saw visuals of a television character, remember Mad Men, and thought, why don't men dress like that anymore? Men don't gather like that anymore. So he put it online, a few mates, nice clothes, old motorcycles. That was 2012. Today it is one of the largest motorcycle events on earth. And we'll get to this, it isn't really about the motorcycles at all.
Motorcycling is about escaping things. It's about getting out there and getting away from the realities of your life and getting some time to yourself. But this is not about escapism. It's more about, in fact, confronting the things that we don't usually talk about. Men's health and mental illness. So, well, we take it on the chin and riding on, but we're still talking about it. And I think that's a step in the right direction. So, there you go, folks. Gentlemen for a day, if not longer.
French football turns the page. Zinedine Zidane is the new head coach of Les Bleus. The French Football Federation has officially named Zidane as successor to Didier Deschamps, who steps down after 14 years in charge.
Hello and welcome back to WION The World is One. I'm Kanishka Sarkar and this is Speed News. Let's take a look at all the stories making headlines at this hour. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Kyiv needs 5% of the US Patriot interceptor stockpile to get through the winter. He said Ukraine would need 10% to counter Russia's ballistic missile attacks. Zelensky says Ukraine's stocks are nearly depleted as Russian air attacks intensify. The US Patriot system is critical to Ukraine's defense against ballistic missiles. Ukraine launched a massive overnight drone attack on Russia's Black Sea port city of Novorossiysk, killing 3 people and wounding 24, according to Russian authorities. The attack damaged 2 major grain terminals at the port. The strikes have raised concerns over disruptions to grain exports and potential impacts on global wheat supplies and prices. The attack comes as Russia and Ukraine continue to target infrastructure deep inside each other's territory. The US military says it is stepping up enforcement of a naval blockade against Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. US Central Command says American forces redirected 59 commercial vessels, disabled 3 and boarded 2 while enforcing a blockade against Iran. CENTCOM released images showing an FA-18 fighter jet launching from the USS George H.W. Bush as the carrier operates in regional waters. The command described the operation as part of America's steel wall blockade against Iran. The operations come as President Donald Trump claims the U.S. has total control of the Strait of Hormuz. He said Iran has no navy, no air force, unpaid soldiers, and a decimated IRGC. He also said Iran's leadership faces uncertainty, it has no money, and is left with fake news and 300% inflation. Firefighters in Libya's Zawiya sprayed water on the oil complex to cool damaged facilities and prevent the fires from reigniting. The fires were triggered